Welcome to SolFul Connections, where we skip the small talk and head right into the soul talk. I'm Amanda Solar, and each week we share the kinds of stories that remind us we're not alone. It's about being human, raw and unfiltered, just real talk. Let's connect.
Connection. Let's talk about connection.
So welcome to Beatriz Albina, who is the host of Feminist Wellness Podcast, is the author of the book it's End Emotional Outsourcing, right?
That's right.
So welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So can I just start right in by just beginning with what is emotional outsourcing?
Yeah, absolutely. So the emotional outsourcing is the term that I came up with as a replacement for some kind of old terms that I feel like a lot of us were living in, but not identifying with. So I'm talking specifically about our codependent, perfectionist, and people-pleasing habits, which I see as having the same root. So emotional outsourcing is when we chronically and habitually source our sense of the three most vital human needs: safety, belonging, and worth from everyone and everything outside of ourselves at a great cost to self.
Okay, that's so interesting. I love that you're taking on terms like people pleasing and codependency. It's funny that I'm talking to you right now because I've just been in this kind of phase of life where I'm looking at all terms like ego and introvert and extrovert and all of these terms that maybe came up with Freud or Jung, and we are still using, which is okay, but I feel as though there's more to it and almost become dulled by the years. So I love that you're talking about this, and I love that you have coined a new expression for it. So can I ask, what is your what's your background? How did you arrive at this?
Yeah. So I came at it circuitously. So I come through medicine. I'm a family nurse practitioner. I have a master's degree in public health. And so my focus of my career has really been on behavior change and understanding the psychology behind health and mental health decision making and what leads people to want to shift the way they're living, whether we're talking about hypertension, high blood pressure, or changing the way you relate to your conceptualization of self and other, right? And everything in between. And so it's a couple of things. I started really seeing in my patients that there was something beneath what was clinically obvious. So I could run all the right labs, get all the right imaging, write all the right prescriptions, all the right supplements, all the right nutrition, all the right everything. And there was some significant segment of people, and my focus was gastroenterology, who would improve and get worse and improve and get worse. And so I started to get really curious and really dig into why and when and what and what was going on before, during, and after the getting worse again. And time after time, I started to see what I later understood were more nervous system ramifications, moments of dysregulation. They were up for a promotion or hadn't gotten the promotion, were visiting their family or just gotten back, had a breakup or had started dating someone. There was something going on that was impacting the way they saw themselves in relationship to their world. And so I started to dig in and sat down and really drew out the issues I was seeing plaguing my patients and my friends, and really realized they were in these three categories: codependent, perfectionist, and people-pleasing habits. And then I started asking myself, what's the center of that Venn diagram? What happens when we do some portion of all three of these things? What else are we doing? And we are outsourcing emotions. We're outsourcing our emotional wellness.
And why? Is it coping? Why are we doing that?
Yeah. So of course, it is a method of coping with life for sure. So there's sort of two main areas that it's really important we talk about. One is our family of origin and our family blueprint and what's modeled for us, and then what we're taught very directly as well as indirectly within society, culture, religion, like that socialization and conditioning there. So starting with the family of origin, it makes sense what if your family was chaotic, if your parents were emotionally immature, which I think so many of us are really realizing that these days, right? That our parents had little to no capacity to actually be emotionally present with us. There might have been food on the table, clean clothes for school, karate classes and ballet. They might have
Yeah.
been doing their best, but were they emotionally attuned? Did they know how to apologize? Did they know how to show up? Was love conditional? Right. And we can
Yeah.
apply this same sort of lens across all sorts of settings, from ones of actual abuse to extreme rigor, to always get the A+, to always get the gold star, to always be, proving your lovability. And so along many portions of that spectrum, we can find ourselves as kids in all of our brilliance, recognizing that our authentic self is not the self that's really lauded here. It's not the self that gets the love, that gets the care, that gets the atta girl, right? The self that stays in line with parental preference is the one that gets the care. And so what do we learn? Well, we're not dummies, right? We learn, don't be your real self. Put her away. That's not a smart person to be. That's not who you want to be.
Right.
Instead, show up as who you believe they want you to be. And so authenticity out the back window. And instead, we're tap dancing, we're pretending, we're play acting day by day to show up as these false selves.
Yeah.
Now we add into that socialization and conditioning. For many of us, that's within strict or shaming religious structures, within the structures we're all subject to, the patriarchy, white settler colonialism, and late stage capitalism, that tell us constantly and chronically, you are not enough. You are not good enough. You need to change your weight, your skin, your clothes, your hair. You're just not enough. And you need to conform. And in that process, it alienates us from the core of self, which is our relationship with our body and our authenticity. Yes. And so, of course, we're outsourcing. We're trained to, right? And so that's why I take so much umbrage with the initial terms, like with codependency as a framework, as we've like historically talked about it, because it's so shaming and it's so blaming. And I think we really need to flip the script on that and talk about it as genius superpowers.
I love that. And also, I feel like it's really important that we understand the relationship between doing that and our physical health and well-being. Not to mention, of course, our emotional well-being, but you were seeing this in gastroenterology. It was rearing its head, so to speak.
Well, certainly. And a big part of my work is nervous system focused long before it was cool. I'm a somatic experiencing practitioner. And through that lens of working with somatics, where somatics means anything that connects us back into the body. So body-based practices that are less like yoga and meditation, where we're really focused on what we're doing with the body. Somatics is more interested in being in the body, being present in and with the body. And so when we take a somatic lens on this, we can really understand that mind and body are one. And it's a false dichotomy that we see in the West, thanks to Descartes, that tells us that mind and body are separate. And I think that's part of the problem, right? We don't realize that while we're alienating and objectifying the body, the mind obviously follows because they are one.
100%. It makes so much sense. We're just not conditioned to think like that. You know, when somebody says it, you think, yeah, of course. And also we go through the day disconnected because of expediency and because of the way we're taught. We've been doing this before it was as popular as it is. Where did this start? with you? Where did this interest lie? How are you somebody who is interested in the nervous system and somatics when it wasn't as popular?
Gosh, that feels hard to speak to. I've never really followed the mainstream. I've followed what interests me and what feels true and real to me. And I am the kind of intellectual that asks why and doesn't stop until I get to the root of the problem, right? Like the true etiology. And so understanding the labs wasn't sufficient. Understanding the right pharmaceuticals insufficient. The right supplements, the right nutrition insufficient. And I'm not one that would leave my patients with a shrug and a like, well, I don't know. I don't know why your tummy hurts. I don't know why you haven't pooped in 3 days. I don't know why you can't stop pooping at your father-in-law's house. I don't know. Good luck. That doesn't sit well with me. It also doesn't feel ethical, right? Like I took a vow, right? Above all, do no harm. And so I think providing people with half answers and a shrug is a form of harm, and I won't be a party to it, right? And so I think it's part and parcel of my job to do the deep dive and to say, I'm not stopping till I get to where I can actually help people's lives improve in sustainable ways, right? In longitudinally sustainable ways. And so that's part of what drove this very nerdy desire to like really figure this out. And it's amazing now. So I mostly work with people within a 6-month group called Anchored. And the change I see in those women's lives is to say it's mind-blowing, barely begins it. They radically shift their lives. And I continue to survey them because, I'm a nerd who studied epidemiology. I survey them 3 and 6 months out, a year out, 2-3 years out. And the changes stick because it's really not about any kind of quick fix. Somatics is the slowest fix in town, right? It is slow and steady work. But when we shift our mindsets and rewire our nervous system and change the way we really even just think about who we are in the world, that's the kind of change that lasts. Yeah, that just lasts, right? That doesn't even need an adjective. It just lasts. So yeah, that was the driver.
You were doing this as a practice prior to writing the book. And you thought, is that, and you saw its effectiveness and thought, I want to spread the word. Is that essentially what happened?
I was actually asked to write the book by a former patient who was friends with an editor and asked me in 2020. It's actually funny. She's one of the last people I saw before lockdown in New York City. That first weekend in March, we went out for coffee, like a regular Saturday. And she talked to me about, I'd been doing the podcast for about a year or so by then, year and a half. And she was like, I have a friend who's an editor. This would be an amazing book. Will you write it? And I said, let me think about it. And then 10 days later, the whole world shifted. So
yeah,
it took a minute to get back to it, but here we are.
Is it connected to the podcast? I mean, is this what you talk about on the podcast?
Sure is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is my focus now.
So
my area of expertise. Yeah.
What surprised you most during the process of writing the book?
How much I wanted to hear Pearl Jam's Even Flow. It was shocking to myself and everyone who's ever met me. It was really late at night, the only song my brain wanted. I'm not even kidding. Pearl Jam's Even Flow. Like, really, brain? Eddie Vedder? Really? On repeat? Like it's 1995? Yeah. What are you up to? I later found out that there's tracks in the hippocampus where like let me see if I can remember the science. Más o menos on the science, y'all. So songs from adolescence in particular light up areas of calm in the brain, something like that. And then it made sense. But man, I don't know if I could even listen to that song anymore. That's what surprised me the most, I think.
So while you were writing it, you just had that like on repeat, or you just
Yeah.
it went through your brain even
No,
after?
I heard it on
Interesting.
repeat. Yeah.
Would you say this book is men, women, or is it specifically for women?
No, feminism is for everyone. And it's really important that we understand that the patriarchy hurts us all. My clinical focus and my lived experience, I was socialized as a girl, I identify as a woman, but so my focus is on how emotional outsourcing is part and parcel of being raised as a girl, and the experience that I've had as being a woman in the patriarchy. But I think it's really vital that we broaden that lens and understand that human socialized as men being told not to have emotions other than anger, right? Because punching a hole in the wall,
talk
that's
about
not
it.
an emotion.
Yeah.
And their boys don't cry. I mean, we can go on and on about how the emotional experience of being a man, particularly in this toxic masculinity culture right now, is really hurts men. You know, I think Liz Plank does
Yeah.
really powerful work on this, and her work for the love of men is really potent for anyone who wants to dive deeper. But yeah, feminism is for all of us, of
Right.
all genders.
Feminism. I'm speaking specifically to that concept of emotional outsourcing. Do you
Yeah.
think that is something that we all do, or is it really something that primarily women do? I'm just curious.
So I don't have like a study that I could point to, so I don't want to say anything, you know, I don't have science to point to. In Again, I think it impacts all of us growing up in the patriarchy, which is all of us in differing ways. And my lived experience leads me to focus on how it impacts human socialized as women. But I think it can't help but impact us all because we all live under patriarchy.
Sure.
Yeah.
What books impact you? What books do you turn to for inspiration?
Oh gosh, you know, I haven't been reading much these days. I've just been writing. I love poetry. I love Adrienne Rich. I love the essays of Audre Lorde. June Jordan's one of my favorite poets. Gosh, I feel like I could turn around and read you the bookshelf, but
yeah, one of my daughters and I were talking today, and we were saying we're a book family, so we just nonstop book conversations. But we were saying, you know, we could talk about books for every decade of our lives. Like this is like 1 to 10, this is 10 to 20, you know, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Only 24, but
yeah.
you know, if you had the choice of knowing what one thing people could walk away from, if you they read your book, they turn the last page, what do you hope they walk away with?
Yeah, that emotional outsourcing is a brilliant and amazing survival skill. It's a set of habits. It is not your identity. It's not who you are. And you don't need to identify as a codependent or as a people pleaser or I'm a perfectionist in order to recognize these habits and to rewire these habits. This is not anything diagnosable. It doesn't mean you're broken or defective or there's anything wrong with your character or who you are. In fact, I would say the opposite, that these habits are evidence of your brilliance as a child in figuring out how to get through less scathed. And I think they're really worth applauding. And when we stop and we celebrate these habits, we can step into compassion, which helps to regulate our nervous system and ventral vagal, the safe and social part of the nervous system. And that's the part of our nervous system that allows us to grow, to change, to step into living the lives we want to live instead of the reactive lives we've been living, where we're focused on everyone else instead of being at home with ourselves.
Yes. Two more things. One thing I noticed in the book is that it has kind of like a workbook quality too.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Oh, because we need it, right? We need to slow things down and not just intellectualize.
Yeah.
So most people who are living in emotional outsourcing are using the brilliant survival skill of living from the neck up, really thinking their way through their feelings and through their lived experience instead of feeling them in the body.
Yeah.
And so we need to really slow things down because I'm a quick reader too. You know, you could eat the whole book in like 2 hours, bada bing, bada boom, done. But when we add a workbook in, journaling questions, reflection questions, it really invites that opportunity to slow down, to get intimate with the material, and most importantly, to apply it to your own life, because that's what it's about, right? Like, how are you living Monday morning? What do you do on Thursday night? Like, what is your relationship to the story of who you are and who the people in your life are? And we really need to slow down to be able to get solid in that.
Perfect. Actually, it was a 2 for 1. You answered both questions in one.
Fun. That's awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want people to know before we kind of wrap up, and, you know, invite them to explore this concept and what it can really do for their life?
Yeah. Yeah. So you can get the book at my website at Beatriz, Beatriz, albina.com/book, or wherever you get your books. And yeah, what else do I want to say? Just that change is really possible. It's really, really possible. And whatever you're feeling stuck in, I have a deep, deep trust in human resilience and in our capacity to shift, change, and grow. And I want to invite you to begin to take the tiniest little steps you can towards change and allow yourself to ease into it so that it can be what we were talking about, that sustainable change that lasts a lifetime. Because, you know, this life is very, very short, but it's
Yeah.
also really long if you really don't like it. So
Yeah.
taking those tiny steps every day towards more presence in your life is one of the most magical gifts you can give yourself and the people you love. Because when we're living in emotional outsourcing, it doesn't just negatively impact us, it negatively impacts everyone in our world. And so it's a real gift to do this work, to step out of resentment, to set better boundaries, to just live life in a way that's more fulfilling.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. Thank you for being a valued part of the SolFul community. Thank you to William Aronson for writing, recording, and producing the SolFul Connections theme song. And finally, always know you're not alone. We are connected. We're all in this thing together. And you and your story are important. Let's just keep on connecting.